Wage inflation has been a concern. It will probably continue to be a growing concern, and attrition has been a concern and probably will continue to be a concern. How worried are you on both those counts as far as the industry is concerned?
I think that, one of the key implications of the kind of changes which Chandra and Noshir and Dinesh talked about is the fact that in the dramatic transformations that are taking place, there are two things which are very clear. The transformation is dramatic and the speed is incredible.
Are we ready for the dramatic transformation, the fast dramatic transformation that's taking place?
That's exactly the point. I'm saying, what is the hitch? The hurdle is whether we will be able to skill ourselves at the pace that is required to be able to actually drive the transformation. And we are not just talking about the skills needed by India or for India, but we are, at the end of the day, a supplier of this kind of skill for the whole world. So I think the biggest challenge is in making sure that the people who are entering the industry have the skills that they need. The people who are in the industry are continuously acquiring the skills that are needed at various levels. So today, irrespective of whether you're at the top or at the bottom, or you're just about to enter or you're at the middle, if you don't change your skills, then you are not relevant anymore. And I think that is the single biggest challenge, and how well we handle the skills issue actually will play an important part in determining.
How big a challenge is this going to be, Chandra? Wage inflation as well as attrition?
For the traditional services, there will be pressure on wage, but that's why you need to really move towards an outcome-based engagement, so where you're guaranteeing certain business outcome, and all of us are talking to our customers in terms of moving to an outcome-based model. That way we can manage, we can control our destiny. So that shift you will see in the industry going forward. Second is reskilling is a constant investment. I don't think it is new, but it's happening more frequently. So that's a new reality that we all need to confront, and I'm sure with the focused effort we can overcome that.
Let's also talk about the road ahead as far as M&A is concerned. Are we likely to see big ticket M&A, or are we likely to see a more string of pearls approach, which is what somebody like Cognizant has been following, or is it going to be the sort of mega blockbuster M&A deals that we've seen in the past?
I'm sure you will see more and more M&A activities, because as companies are growing larger and larger, the complexity of services becoming more and more complex. We need a broad range of skills. We need access to various markets to continue to maintain the growth momentum. So I think M&As will become a reality. The ticket size of the M&A will depend on the company's strategy. We always were doing only the string of pearls type of acquisition, but last year we did the TriSet acquisition. We paid about 2.7 billion. So that was the last.
Are you going to go back to string of pearls, or are you going to go back to the, or are you going to continue with the big ticket one?
Because that was the bet that we were playing on the healthcare segment. So it varies from company to company. So we'll continue to look for good acquisition.
Any big bet that you're making?
We continue to be in the market, Shereen, but there's nothing that I can share today.
Now, are we likely to see these sort of niche sort of acquisitions being done by companies like Cognizant, or do you really see some mega consolidation happening as well?
I see both. I think the niche deals are very clear. And Shekhar spoke about it a little earlier, which is the speed of transformation is so high that frankly you can't afford to have an internal R&D, right? You have to go out and find partners who will actually accelerate your R&D process. At the same time, I think the disruption and the level of disruption is so high that you will start seeing more and more big ticket M&A. I think people are getting comfortable with the fact that you
outbound?
Both outbound and inbound. Both. Because I actually think that people are getting comfortable with their capability, and potentially India does continue to be a place where you can still get this scale and capability of technology talent. So I think inevitably you're going to be in a pretty hot market.
Okay.
One more point I would like to make. Increasingly I see an interest both for large companies and most of our customers. They all want to play a very active part in the India innovative ecosystem. They have actually set up separate fund to invest in some of these smaller startup companies from India. So that's going to be a big opportunity.
Everybody's doing that. Everybody's doing that. What about Cognizant? Have you put aside a certain amount of money that you would like to invest in startups?
Actually, we have been doing it for the last 3 years internally within Cognizant. Now we also look for opportunities where we can invest in some of these innovative startups outside too.
You know, since we are talking about startups, and I wanted to get all of your comments in, I mean, this is perhaps the best time for the Indian startup scene. It's global guys like Facebook and Twitter who are looking at the Indian startup ecosystem to actually do M&A. It's Indian tech companies who are looking to invest or partner or co-create within the Indian startup scene. How excited are you about the Indian startup space, and what more would we perhaps see happen in the year ahead?
So actually, from a Cisco standpoint, India was one of the first geographies we created a special fund to actually go out and invest in some of these startups, right? We put about $40 million down about 6 months ago, and we said, we'll go and look at companies that add value to the whole IoT ecosystem, to the whole mobility and cloud ecosystem. It's been very encouraging because some of the technology coming out of here is actually revolutionizing a few things around the world, right? And I think it's also related to the fact that as companies digitize, they are using IT in a much more strategic manner. It's not about keeping lights on anymore. I agree with Nausher said, you know, 80% of it will go into that area. But then they want business solutions. And typically large engineering organizations are not great at producing specific vertical applications. They'll be very good at creating products. And then layered on top of that, when you want to have business solutions, the startup ecosystem is the best one to go after because they get it, they go understand the business, and they're able to create that very fast. That's the strategy we are using. We build, and we also buy and invest. Sure.
Nashir, how big is this really going to be? You know, he's talking about investing $40 million in the startup scene. Infosys has put together a fund of about $500 million. $250 will be invested only in Indian startups. Are we just at the tip of the iceberg, really, in that sense?
I think yes and no. I think, you know, as always, you know, you'll see the famous S-curve in most of these investments. So we're in there's no question. In the startup environment, we are in a bull market, right? It's a very, very strong market, and I think you'll see the investments continuing to grow. Underneath that, what is really interesting and exciting is that you're seeing a whole next generation of entrepreneurs. And that's really what is going to power this in the future. That's what I actually feel very happy about, because that level of entrepreneurs, it doesn't matter if that first startup fails or the second startup fails, right? You're seeing that bench strength being built, pretty much like if I go back 15 years, the IT services companies and the BPM companies built the bench strength on professional management or process at scale. So I think that's going to happen. But to be honest, you know, is the party going to be as big as people seem to predict today?
No, you don't think so?
I don't know.
Would you agree? Do you think the party is going to be as big as people think? I mean, look at the valuations that these companies enjoy today.
I differ with Nausher, and I am very bullish on the startup ecosystem in India. And you know, one is there is an urge amongst the youth of the country. You know, today if you go to various campuses and talk to the students, they are more interested in talking about how is that they can do something on their own than what traditionally people have been doing, you know. So there is an urge amongst the youth. They don't mind failing quickly, right? So that itself will spur innovation for the country. But we need a lot more favorable ecosystem for them to be successful. So I'm very happy that the angel funding is on the rise. There's a lot of funding from VCs and PE firms in the startups ecosystem. Now NASSCOM, we are working with the government in terms of creating the favorable environment for them to make it easy for them to operate. So I feel this is an opportune moment where everything is coming together. There is a need for innovation from our customers. There's an urge amongst the youth to do something different. There's a realization with the government and the various associations to support this ecosystem. So I think everything is coming together nicely.
On that note, gentlemen, it's always a pleasure speaking with you here at the NASSCOM Leadership Summit. We hope that the Indian IT sector will continue to capitalize on the opportunities, not just in the domestic market, but also what's happening globally. We hope that when we return next year, we will have more color and more numbers to throw on the digital opportunity, which is lacking today. Many thanks to my panelists here for joining us here once again. On that note, it's time for us to wrap up the CNBC TV 18 special. We'll see you again next year from the NASSCOM Leadership Summit. Till then, from the entire team, goodbye and many thanks for watching.